Oh, baby. Are we live? I suppose we are. Poggers. People hear me? Let me turn down this. Wait, is my volume's a little bit jank today because I switched to a new interface. So not late today. I see you. Don't at me. Oh my gosh. No, I'm kidding. I'm always late. But you got a Simply Piano ad. Let's go. Simply Piano loves to support my stuff now that I plugged them once. Let me pull stuff up on my laptop. I spent like all day, literally like the last 4-5 hours designing my whole stream stuff. But I guess this is the benefit of, you know, having a bit of time to be able to do stuff like this and set things up. The thumbnails just keep getting better. I'm like low-key, like I wouldn't say like really running out of like meme ideas, but like I need to like really dig right through my memory of like anime that I've seen and just like think about like all the memes and all the stuff right that I can put in. I should like totally put like a picture of like Nabara or like what's the guy's name, I forget. Fushigo? Whatever, like just like looking blankly at them, being like, what is going on? But hello, good afternoon, ad blocker gang. That's fine, I don't care. But Unravel review incoming. Nah, fam. We're done with Unravel for a while. Let's move this slightly so I'm more properly framed. Although my mic is kind of in the way. Here, allow me to move the mic real quick. I will mute so that it doesn't blow your eardrums when I shuffle it around. There we go. There it is. But anyways, I could have done Naruto and Jiraiya, but I haven't seen Naruto, so I don't like using memes that I don't know the context of, because I don't want to like get myself in trouble for saying something that's inaccurate, right? And then people start blaming me for no reason. So since I haven't seen Naruto, I can't really use Naruto things, even though it's probably fine, right? I'll probably use like Roshi and Goku or something at some point. But yeah, how are people doing? How are people doing today? I was streaming earlier, right? So that people can make it to Halcyon stream, which is in 2 hours or so. Halcyon, my main man. Love his content, love the stuff that he does. Y'all should go follow him if you don't already. But he is definitely a PogChamp in my eyes. Let's see. Let me pull up my stream here on my laptop as well, just so that I can more accurately monitor the stuff that's going on. Yeah. Oh wow, why isn't that scrolling? I tried to set that the bottom like donations chat to like scroll, but unfortunately it scrolls only 50% of the time, and that's one of the headaches from the last like few hours. But anyways, what have people been up to? What are you playing on piano? What are you watching? Hello, Winter. How many chess games have you played? How many times have you hung your queen by move 7? You know, the usual, the good stuff. What are people doing these days? I imagine a lot of college students are finishing up finals. A lot of high school students are finishing up AP exams or preparing for finals, right? If APs aren't the end all be all. But yeah, what are people up to? Happy today, first job interview. That's nice. Good luck and good job with getting the return or second interview, because that's a big deal. Interviews are scary, right? Especially when you get the technical interviews stuff. But yeah, review your Unravel video. Unfortunately, I don't like reviewing Unravel, so because I hear too much Unravel and I don't want to hear more. But that's okay. Took AP Chinese. A whole bunch of my friends took AP Chinese when we were in like 9th grade or something, and they tried to use that to test out our language requirement in school. And of course, they all spoke Chinese at home, so I think they did decently, or if not, studied and actually got 5s or something. But I myself, not speaking Mandarin and being illiterate, did not take it, and probably would still fail today. With your music degree? Oh, let's go. Submitted Beethoven 32 Variations for your final performance. Congratulations. That's a big deal. Oh my gosh, that's a big work too. Wow, you should post a link, or maybe in my Discord or something, so that we can all go check it out if you have a recording, because that would be pretty interesting. But congrats finishing your music degree. Best of luck moving forward with music, because music's a hard industry to get into. I say as I am trying to get into music myself. So, hello Eric, what's up? We're going to be hopefully reviewing 2 to 3 videos today. I'm thinking so the first 2 that I was going to review is one from Eric and one from As Piano Covers. Since Eric's here, I suppose I'll do his first. But I will also, if I have time, I will do Mad Piano Life's part of his Mushishi? I forget. I haven't seen the anime, so I don't know, medley as well. So we're looking forward to some interesting things. It's the pieces, arrangements are Kaibutsu, and Karunara, Animens and Karunara, and again, Mushishi medley that I believe he wrote himself. So, anyways, got your C1 diploma in French. You're in France, you won't speak it? What the? I wish I could get a diploma in a second language. All I could do is hold crappy conversation in Cantonese, or Cannotese as we like to call it in my Discord channel. Yeah, I should make it like a donation thing where it's like, if you donate, right, if you tip, super chat, whatever, I'll like speak for like 2 minutes or try my best to speak for 2 minutes in Cantonese or something like that, and see what happens. Right, maybe if I did like a Ludwig type of subathon, I'll get like more subs and like support, but that's okay. We're doing fine. How old are you? I'm in my early 20s, and I am studying physics. I'm going into my last year, so that's fun. Yeah, no problem, David. Don't understand French. You're pooping. Mushishi. Okay, it's a great ASMR anime. Perhaps I will check it out. At some point. But yeah, oh my gosh, it's I feel like it hasn't actually been that long since I've streamed, right? But it's just because last week I was like set up here, right? That it feels like this setup is different. That it feels like I haven't done this in a while. That I haven't reviewed stuff. And quite honestly, I feel like every time I go back to like reviewing videos, I always wonder like how much more new stuff that I could talk about. But it's always, it's not. There's definitely always new things to discuss. There's new things to learn. I definitely have much to learn because I'm not a super expert at anything really in life. But it's like a lot of times it's a reapplication of fundamentals as well that makes things interesting, right? That you don't understand or that you need help formulating, which is very, very, very interesting. Very interesting life. Anyways, the French gang I suppose is strong. Usually I feel like I get a decent Hong Kong gang here as well. But yeah. Oh, and since it's summer for me and I've started doing this for a while now, I suppose that I will begin to promote a little bit harder the fact that I do teach private lessons, right? If this sort of thing is interesting to you, please definitely hit me up. My email, WattKeysOfficial@gmail.com. If you want that sort of instruction or more, I suppose, personalized one-on-one time with me to go through your playing. And yeah, we'll work on everything from technique to musicality to making you a better player, I suppose. So that's the shameless plug for me today. I was also thinking about You know, there's just some things that are hard to do on YouTube, right? As I'm starting to discover now, as I'm having more and more, you know, like video ideas and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, I feel like paywall is hard to talk about or discuss in like communities like this because people are like, oh, but we are broke and we want content, and this is the reason why we're getting, you know, the content here. But on the other hand, it is a reality that like a lot of people don't put forth effort to consume content or learn stuff if they don't have like more skin in the game. So I've been thinking about how to best balance something like that, because if I put like hundreds, like quite honestly, if I make like, you know, like a full on, for example, like hypothetical, perhaps this is something that you guys would like, but like a whole like class, like teaching Chopin's Ballade in G minor, everything, right? From my analysis of the score to like how I finger, right, to how to like approaching each section musically, to like, you know, like specific phrasings on each section, different ideas that you could implement, like, and how the whole piece ties together, right? And different ways that you can interpret beyond that in an emotional capacity, right? That's like tens of hours, if not hundreds of hours of work, right? And for a YouTube series, I'm not sure that people would sit through something like that, right? Kind of like how I made that Beethoven Moonlight Sonata video, which wasn't very good, right? Which I understand. But it's like, you know, not that many people watch it, and for good reason, because nobody wants to sit through an hour and a half long video of someone explaining like how to like that, right? And so, I don't know, just thinking, just thoughts for the future. I have ideas for 10K subs. So I'm recording, I suppose, I think my latest collection of pieces that I've been working on either tomorrow or the day after. And then after that, I'm going to be working on my live stream concert, the program and stuff like that. So I'm giving myself like 2 to 3 weeks to put that together, to practice up and relearn all the pieces that I haven't played in a while. Yeah, the first movement. But like so that will be it. I don't know. I feel like I'm in an interesting spot this summer where there's like a lot of new content that I want to like get ready, you know, practice up and learn, and record, because I won't have access to the piano when I go to school next year. So I want to record all that stuff before I'm gone for the summer. But there's also this concert, this live stream event that I want to do, just as a thank you for all you guys for sticking around, because I know people like that, right? And it's also fun too. It's like dipping my toes back into like performing, right? If the end goal one day, or one of the end goals, is for me to play like live again, right? Which would be super dope, right? Because I don't know, I'm super nervous to talk about that and think about that, right? And to actually show up, that would be nerve-wracking. But it's a cool concept and something that I definitely want to do. But dipping your toes back in with live stream seems like very nice, right? A very nice way to do so. So and it's a nice way of connecting with you more live as well, right? Because you get to hear me more raw. I don't get to respond to your energy as well, right, as I would in a live performance, but like it's still something, right? It's still something. But anyways, did you start French Revolution? You did. Just graduated college. Nice. Congrats for graduating college, but also big sad because it's during Corona. I need peanut M&Ms 3 in the morning. Instant ramen gang, let's go. Yes, thank you, Anime Piano Angel. Oh, you haven't been by in a hot sec. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Will I be learning other etudes from your line in April? So what I want to do, so I'm gonna eat a dark chocolate Kit Kat because we have those in the house apparently, and I haven't eaten dinner yet because I moved this forward. So yeah, I will be learning other etudes. It's just that, you know, etudes are an interesting beast, right? Like there are some people who can pick up fast. I'm sure Fruit could learn like all of Chopin's etudes, you know, in a matter of like days, right? Just simply because his technical proficiency, at least learning quickly, right? Technical proficiency and learning fast is very, very high. But I feel like etudes take a bit of time to like sink in, right? Because they have to sink into, at least the technically difficult ones too. They have to sink into the point where it's like very reflexive, like intuitive muscle memory wise, right? And then it's like from there, then you begin to shape and mold that into an interpretation, right? You can't, it's almost like if you start off trying with the interpretation, you're thinking too hard about the notes because it's too difficult to not think about the notes, technically demanding to not think about the notes for you to actually create that sort of like deeper interpretation that you're going for, right? So actually in a few days, hopefully I'll be recording Wrong Note Etude, right? I don't know when I'll actually put that out, but what was that, Opus 25, number 5, I believe, right? But it's like, you know, I didn't put as much work into it as I wanted to the past few months, right? Because school and stuff like that. So right now I have it at a level where it's technically proficient. Mostly like 99% technically proficient, at least for me, or I should say 95, right? I'm still making mistakes in places that I don't want to make mistakes in, right? But as a result of that, I don't feel like my interpretation is as strong as it needs to be, right? But I'm still going to record because it's time to move on, and I have interesting things for the summer, and I really just wanna, you know, I'm so excited for the Kreutzer. You guys have no idea. I'm so excited for the Kreutzer and getting my friend Suzanne to help me out and play, because I've done chamber once, right? I've done chamber once, and that group like rehearsed for like 3 weeks, and then the Beethoven Sonata or whatever we were doing, or trio or whatever, just got like dispersed and it never happened. So I'm super excited to do the Kreutzer. Because it sounds super dope as well. 25-6, just can't. Yeah. And Chopin etudes definitely do need musicality and not just technique. Which is, I think, the hardest part, right? Like even I don't remember any of the opus numbers, but like cello, like... or whatever, right? Cello etude. Sorry, I'm trying to play by ear and remember what it sounds like as well. It's like slow, and so people are like, "Oh, what's the easiest Chopin etudes, right?" And undoubtedly, people will list the slow ones, right? But it's like, no, it's quite tough. I've looked at it before. I gave it like cursory like reads and stuff like that. Now, of course, there's runs, right, which make it hard, more technically demanding. But then there's the fact that you have like 3 different lines going, all carrying like an interesting melody. It's like, how are you gonna voice that? And then how are you not gonna overcomplicate it with pedal? How are you gonna like thin it out and then like let different things come through and different dynamics and keep them distinct and have them all interact, right? And it becomes very, very difficult when you think about it that way. So, Wrong Note Etude, looking forward to see my take. Yeah, also the best part about etudes, or a nice part about etudes, is that most of them can be interpreted differently, right? Especially things that, the slower ones, right, have more leeway for stuff like that, because everyone is used to hearing Winter Wind at max speed. And so there are very few people who want to play Winter Wind at less than max speed, right? Very few people want to play, you know, Revolutionary Etude at less than max speed, you know? And it's very interesting, right? When stuff like that happens. But anyways, have I ever been to Anime Expo next summer? Yeah, I mean, I would love to, right? Again, I became a weeb like a year ago. So, a year ago, anime expos were not a thing. So, hopefully that will happen. Yeah. Have I ever thought about doing real life Tiffany Poon style vlogs? Those could be interesting. Yeah, but like at the okay. So here's the thing, right? This week I edited my, you know, practice vlog. This for like 6 to 8 hours. Because I went through, right, edited without cutting, and then I went through and cut for YouTube, right? Because nobody's gonna watch a 45-minute long video of me like practicing the same things over and over again, which is why Patreon's a thing, right? And why I somewhat promote my Patreon, right? And stuff like that. So I feel like vlogs are a different style of editing that I would have to get used to as well. And on top of having to do that, right, it'd be like, I'm trying to do my playing videos, right? And so this summer I'm practicing lots, right? Then I have to do my review videos, right? Because those are currently the bread and butter of this channel, right? Those are what I call my feelers, right? Those get the audience to see my other content that I want to see, which is, you know, my playing and then my streams and then my tutorials, right? My educational stuff. I haven't done a tutorial in a hot sec, right? And people are clamoring for it. Y'all want to hear more beginner mistakes and me talk about that. And I have literally thought about like, I remember in my video, right, talking about the technical errors, I was like, I'll just make a part 2 talking about musicality, but then I realized musicality is a massive topic, right? Like, there's no way to distill it down into like 3 most common mistakes, right? Like with technicality, I can be like, okay, classic fingers, that's a big one. Like those are much more quantitative, whereas musicality is much more qualitative. And so I'm like, okay, big brain time. How do I turn this into a giant series, right? And so if I want to do those videos, that's going to take a fair amount of scripting and planning on how to film and record as well, and examples that I'm going to use, right? And I have to practice up some examples that I think would be great, but that I haven't played in a while. And then, you know, practice vlogs are a way for me to buffer, like basically slow down, right? Like how much I need to learn at one given time. Because I can milk the content for lack of a better term. I hope it's interesting, right? To see at least some of my thoughts behind what I'm doing, right? I tried to do that with the Watson and performance originally, which is why we got the 1.5-hour long Beethoven video, which nobody watched. But I think a practice vlog is much more conducive to that, simply because it's more interesting, right? It's a more digestible format that you guys get to see. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm planning out the content. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. I would like to upload about 1.5 times a week this month, or these next few months, right? Just to see how it is. So like, you know, performance video / practice vlog every other week, review video every other week, and a tutorial video every other week as well. So like 6 videos a month, so 1.5 times a week, plus the streams, right? We'll keep those going, perhaps like maybe 2 or 3 weeks of break, simply because I don't think I can keep showing forever. And then we'll see what happens, because I feel like everything that I do takes so long. It's like the life of YouTubing is very, very arduous. It's more arduous than you would expect. You think, oh, just hop behind a camera. But when you're a perfectionist like me and you want to make stuff that looks at least good enough to you, I'm sure my standard doesn't live up to like a professional video editor's like standard or whatever, but like I'll sit there and like just finagle like frame by frame sometimes, like when the text pops up, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? But you gotta do what you gotta do, right, to appease your creative mind, I suppose, sometimes. But what is harder, Winter Wind or Revolutionary Etude? I've read Winter Wind. Revolutionary Etude I feel like has more repetitive patterns, right? It's a little bit more repetitive, so I think it's a little bit easier in terms of that. Like raw technicality, right? Winter Wind is like, okay, I don't know. I suppose it depends what movement you find easier, but most people would say Revolutionary Etude is easier, but like I don't know how to judge musicality because I haven't played Winter Wind yet. So expos are fun. Yeah, I would love to go to an expo and meet fellow weebs. It's been a hot, like I've you know, never been to an expo before, and it would be super dope if I showed up and like met people, right? Like you guys, like bruh, that would be kind of nutty. That would be kind of nutty. Yeah. Anyways, double thirds, kills. Yeah, I'm like atrociously bad at thirds, so I won't even comment on that. I'm getting accidentally pinged for winter. Dude, you chose the name. Now you made your bed. Now you gotta sleep in it. That's all I gotta say. I prefer Revolution. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts of doing collabs or forehand piano with someone else? The collaborations that I've been thinking of, right, are again with my friend, right, playing the Kreitzer, and hopefully, and she wants to do a Debussy piece as well, and so I'm like 1-for-1. I'll do a Debussy, right, sonata or whatever. Even though I'm not a big fan of Debussy impressionist sort of like playing, it kind of like I get the artistic merit, but somehow it's never sat right with me beyond like a few pieces, of course, like Clair de Lune, and so I haven't played Debussy really at all in my entire life. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be a fun ride, right? Like I enjoy learning stuff like that. It's like when I've only played like I think like 2 Russian composers before, Shostakovich, or 2 Russian pieces before, Shostakovich, or 19th century, 20th century Russian pieces, Shostakovich and Prokofiev, right? Sonata in A minor. So Shostakovich A minor Prelude and Fugue, and Prokofiev Piano Sonata number 3 A minor, and those were incredibly difficult to interpret, incredibly difficult for me to memorize, and it was just like, ooh, I just don't get it, right? But when you get it, right, or a little bit more of it, you're like, this is actually fun, right? So I feel like that's probably what's gonna happen with Debussy. Maybe I won't love it, right, as some people do, but I'll find it interesting, and I'm looking forward to working on something like that. So, anyways, yeah. Oh, and as for other collabs, it depends how fast I can arrange. If I can finish the arrangements that I'm working on now, then hopefully I'll collaborate with Fruit on something, an arrangement. Narushka's why I gave up. That's why I gave up on music or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Everything's like kind of up in the air. Like I feel like I have a lot of things that I want to do, right? And then there's like a lot of things that would be cool to do, right? And a lot of things that I need to set up to be able to do, right? Like definitely right now, I'm trying to expand my private teaching practice a little bit, right? Which is why I'm trying to promote a little bit more, like with the stream side card, with me talking about it a little bit more, right? Because I think teaching is cool, and I think that that's something that can help me get to like a sustainable level and like of doing YouTube like this, and because I think it's helpful for you guys. I'm again thinking about doing like, you know, like a course or something, right? That would be more in depth than a YouTube tutorial would allow me to do, right? I don't ever want to sell something, right? That you can get on YouTube. Like feasibly, right? It's either gotta be more convenient, or you just get more of my style of teaching, right? Except more in depth, or something like that, right? So it's gotta be like, these things require a little bit of planning, a little bit of sketching it out, especially for my sort of approach and the way that I think about it, right? I don't know. You guys feel free to disagree, but you know, thinking about how do I turn YouTube into, or piano in general, into something that's sustainable. Right, if it's when it's sustainable, it would be like dang. But and of course I want to show you guys more of my process and like more like things that I do like surrounding this, so that I'm more human to you as well, right? It's difficult sometimes to get like comments that almost like, of course people don't mean like extreme harm by leaving like innocuous like passive aggressive comments on YouTube videos, but it's like, you know, I'm a person too, right? I'm a person. If you want to leave a comment, I read your comments. I'm a person who reads your comments. And so it's like, one or two of them never like don't really like affect me that much. But like when you get like lots of them, sometimes it's like, sometimes you wonder, right? Like, do they even think that I'm a person, or am I just like this face on camera? Which is totally fair, right? If you see me only on an entertainment type video, which is like me reviewing and stuff like that, although I would hope to argue that it is slightly more educational than just a rote entertainment video. But, you know, being able to humanize myself more, I think, is always a benefit, right? Because I want to connect with people, right? The goal of music, the goal of this channel, connecting with people, communication, all these great things that I talk about over and over again. And the more you understand me, the more you understand the music that I do, the more you understand how I'm teaching, and the better our relationship will be, me and you. Me and you stream, exactly. And the more likely that I can keep doing this, right, for a longer period of time, which I would love to be able to do. So anyways, yes. Hello. I don't know how to read your name. Brugelnos. I don't know how to pronounce that, but hey, I am all right. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're a big fan. Thank you. It's limitless. Favorite composer? Beethoven. I think I say this like every stream, but that's okay. I should make another command so that my mods can type it in. Like, favorite composer is like ! composer, Beethoven, right? But I seem very passionate. You really enjoy these streams. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like I care very deeply about things, and I think about things. I'm an introverted ruminator, right? And so it like, yeah, I feel like I can talk for a long time on a lot of things that I care about, you know. You have advices, piano 67 years, Bach, fugues and preludes, and stuff like that. What to do next? I feel like if you work through a fair amount of Bach, then you've got a decent sense of voicing, right, and that sort of musicality. If you work through some Beethoven sonatas and Chopin waltzes and some rock and stuff like that, your technicality is getting up there too, right? So moving forward, it becomes a matter of what are you looking to do, right? Are you looking to continue improving technically, right? Or do you want to play stuff that is like entertaining or appeasing to you, right? If you have a teacher, right, your teacher will keep pushing you along the direction that you want to go. But general advice, if you want to become a more well-rounded musician, play more different composers. Okay, like play different composers, play some Mozart, or throw some Mozart in there, some classical style, throw some Haydn in there, throw some impressionist stuff like Debussy, Ravel, and stuff like that, right? More 19th century Russian composers like Shostakovich and Prokofiev, as I've mentioned earlier, that I don't have much experience with, right? But it all helps you to become more well-rounded, and you can take those sorts of things into different composers as well. Perhaps not in its totality, but you can apply ideas. It becomes very interesting that way. You want to improve on technique, then of course playing more technical things will help. Working on Chopin etudes, yada yada, right? And I suppose like a lot of people will recommend, when you're stuck, just work on Chopin etudes, but or less transcendental etudes or whatever. But I would say like, if you want to, right? It depends on what your goals are. If you have a teacher, your teacher will have, ideas for you. If you don't have a teacher, you're self-learning at this point, then just what are your goals? What are your goals? And once you define those, then you can move forward into learning whatever repertoire you want to. Does being lefty or righty really matter? I think it does. My left hand has always lagged behind my right hand in terms of technicality. So I think it matters. But it's like both hands will have to deal with things, and you'll have to work either ways, right? Right-handedness probably is a little bit more advantageous, especially when you're starting off, simply because voicing with the top fingers is easier because you have more control, you have more strength, whatever, right? And you rarely have to do that, especially when you're starting off with the left hand. So, I mean, perhaps being right-handed at first is more of an advantage. I can't really tell since I am right-handed, so I don't know how that progression is after you train that for a while. But I can definitely attest to the fact that my left-hand trills are not as good, right? I picked up the Thalberg trill very quickly with the right hand, right? So that's like 3-2, 3-1, 3-2, 3-1 type of thing, right? My left hand took a little bit longer, right? Like, I think literally the first time I thought about doing the Thalberg trill, my teacher was like, oh, try 3-2-3-1. I was like, oh, yeah, I got it, right hand, right? And then for years, because I didn't practice it with my left hand, I couldn't do it. I just like straight up kept like stumbling like this. And it was like a few months ago, I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn a freaking Thalberg trill with my left hand. And I sat down with the hand and right, and I was like, okay, there we go. Yeah, let's go, let's do it, right? So, before you forget, I've been an anime fan for a short while. Yutaka Yamada is the best anime composer and a godly pianist. I will definitely check him out and some of his OSTs. You are stagnating since you stopped taking lessons 1 year ago. Yeah, I would say, again, define what your goal is and work on pieces that move towards that. What is stagnating really? Right? Are you talking about stagnating because your musical interpretation isn't improving? Well, then work on a wider variety of composers so that you get more ideas from different places. They don't always have to be more technically difficult, but if they're different, right, then it becomes an application of like different things, right? And it gets better and it helps expand your mind that way. Are you stagnating technically, right? Then perhaps work on Chopin etudes, stuff like that, right? And it depends what your goals are and where you're stagnating. Thoughts on the harpsichord, time for a comeback? Definitely. How's my third 3-4 right hand trill? I suppose, I don't know if you can hear that. I feel like at least my piano volume is kind of low, but yeah, the endurance on the 3-4 is not very good. And I tend to rotate a little bit to help out with that, but here it is. Thalberg with 3-4. But with left hand, you can't see, but I am rotating a little bit with the rest of my hand to help with the 3-4. But and 5-4, right? It's typically you find. Anyways, but I suppose I spent half an hour reading chat. Thank you for all the questions, chat. If you have more questions, please post them up quickly before I move on to reviewing videos. Because we're gonna start with Eric's. Let me take a quick sip of water and adjust my mix so that I can hear a little bit more of my piano. Oops, I got it the wrong way. There it is. Yeah, I literally don't know how this thing works. I'm still figuring it out. Every time Isaiah shows up in my chat, I feel like he's trolling me. But that's okay. Yeah. Alright. So I'm gonna eat my second Kit Kat to give myself a little bit more energy. And then we will go onwards. I don't think I forget, Eric got the arrangement from Anime Piano Pro, I believe. So I didn't have time to go look for the sheets. Oh yeah, no problem, Brugonos. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but hopefully that provides you with some direction on where to go, right? Because I feel like we could say that me and you are in a similar boat, right? Perhaps you are a little bit further behind than I am, simply because, you know, I played for like 15 years before stopping my teacher. But like, you know, after you hit a certain degree of technical proficiency, or at least for me, right? I hit my bucket list piece my senior year when I played Let's Hungarian Rhapsody #2 and performed it, right? Of course, I've said this multiple times, it's not like I played a Kachin level like tempo or a Horowitz level tempo, right? Or Lang Lang or whatever, but it was like a decent tempo, right? There's like 1 or 2 people I think who've heard it that I've shared with on my Discord or whatever, a few people on my Discord, and it's like, respectable, right? Some things are respectable, some things are like, why did you play too slow? And it's like, oh, but it's okay, right? And the way I played back then is a little bit different from the way I play now, because back then there was a lot of more input from my teacher and she had very specific thoughts, and I still hear things very similar to the way that she taught me, which is incredible, right? July and April episode, what is it, 11 with anyways, but it's like, all stuff like that. And so but like after playing Hungarian Rhapsody #2, I was like, there's like, I don't think that there's anything that I can't do on the piano if I don't have enough time to practice, or if given enough time to practice, right? And so then it's like, where do you go from there? For me, it was like a 1.5 year long break to get my passion back, right, essentially. And now I just play things that are entertaining to me and that I'm looking forward to and that I want to work on that's interesting, right? And really, at the moment, it's just thinking about like pieces that are interesting to me and expanding my range of musicality and getting better at communicating. Right, I feel like each piece that I play, my dynamic control hopefully gets a little bit better, right? And my pedaling gets a little bit cleaner, right? I've been working so much on half pedal recently. Half pedal and like fluttering, right? Between like half and quarter almost to change. Like that stuff, it's like I've never done that before, right? Or I did very little of that. And I've been working in a lot of una corda, like soft pedal as well. Like in the past, I never used the soft pedal, except like in very specific spots, right? But now I'm using that to figure out textures. How am I gonna like perhaps like maintain a bit of aggressiveness in the way that I play, but use this to add a layer of texture over it. And it's like super interesting, right? So there's always things to discover, to play with, right? And to mess around with. Let's say as I hold my KitKat bar like I'm holding a mic, but it is what it is. But do I play animus music? I believe that my channel more than suffice to answer that question. But I do. Do I compose? No, currently I don't. I just arrange anime music. So I'm fairly new at that. I'm not gonna pull any punches and say I'm good at composition. Excuse me. I'm still wrapping my head around music theory, right? The thing that carries me in compositions is the fact that I have a good ear, or a decent ear at least, right? Typically when I play something and it sounds decent to me, it ends up sounding decent in general. When it sounds bad and I don't do it, it ends up sounding like kind of meh in general, right? And some people are gifted with that, some people aren't, or perhaps it's a product of playing a lot, right, in the past. But whatever it is, that's a advantage that I have now, that given enough time, sit and noodle on the piano, and something decent will come out, at least, right? Decent. I'm gonna say good, I'm gonna say decent, right? But Balad, let's go, Spanish Rhapsody, let's go. Don't worry, Balad is doable, right? And there's so much to say, there's so much to learn. Of course, take it slow and get up there. And his pieces take a few years, a few thousand hours of piano experience, that is true. It's using I suppose this will be our last question. Eric, if you're still around, you would like to join the video review voice chat on the server, that would be super dope, and we'll get to your video after I answer these last few questions, or this last question. Wow, can I even find my own? Okay. Yeah, but it does. I think. Because on a digital piano, the keys are much lighter. Also, depending on the digital piano, I believe like newer ones. I've never played a Nord 3 before, so if someone's played a Nord 3, y'all can tell me. But it seems like some super high-end ones will have that little, like if you play a grand piano, at the bottom of the key there's a very little like a little bit where it just like snaps down, right? Like clicks down. I don't know what it's called. Somebody probably has a better probably knows the term for that. But that allows you to go like super fast with something like this, right? It also gives a different tactile feel. So when you're learning, right, especially with lighter keys, you develop less finger strength. And then if you played on a vertical or a grand, right? I'm not gonna say spinets because I've never played a spinet before, but those are even lighter than vertical. So I don't know how they compare to digitals and stuff like that. So definitely play on the best piano that you can get your hands on, right? I remember last year when I came back to playing on this piano, right? Because I was at school, and so I practiced for like, several months on this. Like my fingers were noticeably very tired after a day of playing, right? And I was like, dang, this never happened to me before. But I suppose it's because you can cheat so much on I say in air quotes, on this keyboard here, right? Because you can glide and go a lot faster than you typically can on a piano with heavier keys, right? This is true for any keyboard with different like weightings on the keys. Like, for example, when you go and perform, right? Even if you practice on like a relatively heavy piano, like a older Estonia or something like that, or like older Yamaha or something like that, right? The keys are a little bit heavier, and so it requires a little bit more force, and you go a little bit slower, and perhaps you need a little bit more control in the bass, but you get different qualities out of it too. You go perform a very new Steinway, right? The keys are very light, very, very light, right? You have to be very careful to not go too fast because it's very easy to all of a sudden just start gliding and you're like, wait, hold on, I'm like 5 clicks over when I practiced that, and like I'm like spiraling out of control. It's like all stuff like that, right? So it's the same thing for digital to grand. So best to practice on something, but like either ways you're gonna have to adjust. So anyways, Labus Laid is your goal. What a great piece, I love it. Yeah, acoustic piano helps technique. In terms of cheating, you can cheat. Very true. Yeah, acoustic pianos, keys are definitely heavier. But anyways, allow me to set up this call. I suppose that about half of my 39 concurrent viewers will dip, but like, it's okay. The whole goal of this is to be educational, and hopefully y'all can learn something from my review of Eric's Kanbutsu as well. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick while I set this up. Double escapement. Thank you. That's the thing that I was talking about with the click at the bottom. Yeah, it's dang. Listening to, I really hope someday that it's interesting, right? As this channel grows, I'll get more and more opportunities to do things. But it'd be so dope to like just sit down with people who are definitely like maybe finding people who are more experienced in like certain aspects or whatever, of piano playing or like even education or like whatever, or even sitting down with some of you guys, right, and being able to talk about piano, whether that's on stream or off stream or in a video or not on a video, right? It doesn't really matter, but like being able to talk, bounce ideas back and forth in an open dialogue, right? Dialogue. That's like top 10 things that I'm looking forward to as this channel grows. Alright, one sec, Eric. Y'all haven't, I should throw links. If I have a mod who has a link to Eric's stuff, y'all should go check him out. He's starting to make vlogs and stuff like that, which are super interesting. He did a Chica dance. It's super dope. Let's see. Let me switch my view over. I need to pull up OBS. Pog. Alright. Turn on the top view camera. Oop. Wrong button. Boom. Alright, it's slightly crooked, but that's okay. Alright. So you can just chat with me in the video reviews if I ever ask questions or stuff like that. Unfortunately, I don't have the sheets, so I can't, necessarily follow along as well. You can type or talk. I don't really care. But if you talk, you come through on the stream. Just bear that in mind if that's something that makes you uncomfortable. But you talk more than enough in your new video, so it's fine.
You're right.
Yeah. All right. Allow me to adjust my volume and stuff like that, and we will get started. Alright, let's see. That's a bit loud. Y'all chat should tell me how things are sounding. Thanks for the link, Winter. I appreciate that. Let me turn you up too, Eric. Well, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity on Rise. It's like, day.
Appreciate it.
Like, alright, I see you. I see you with those vlogs. The Chica dance. Like, I saw that and I was like, bruh. This is like top tier content.
Had to do it.
Yeah, you had to do it too. For the memes. But
Exactly.
yeah. Anyways, I think the first time I heard you play was in Double Flat's stream when he was reviewing your video then. I think it was a Yuri on Ice one. So let's see what the thoughts are here. Is volume okay, chat? Oh yeah, Eric can respond to me as well. Okay. Although it must be a little bit disconcerting to have lag. Oh, sorry, I'm not screen sharing for you. I need to do that. It's just so that you can keep up with me. Alright. Yep, volume is good. Thank you, team. This is hopefully not going to be a situation where I go back and watch the VOD and I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me that things were not okay? But anyways, alright, let's get started. I feel like, oh, unfortunately you can't hear my keyboard through the, through Discord. But one of the things that, so I guess this makes it tough for you. You have to watch both things and you'll hear me with lag and without lag. But one of the things that I think you could do, there we go. Okay, with the 3-4-3-4, right? One thing that you could do instead of just like going back and forth, like almost in a trill motion where you lift the fingers, is bounce with your arm a little bit more, right? So I'll demonstrate on the camera up here. Right, so my arm is rotating about the elbow like this, and it's moving up and down a little on top of lifting with my fingers in order to provide myself with a little bit more bounce, right? Because the way that I don't remember the singer, but like the way that this song is like written and the way the texture that it sounds like you're going for is a little bit more like a staccato, a little bit more peppery, right? And so adding a little bit of bounce here, right, will help add some of that as well. So it's not exactly like a plucking staccato, right? But it's a little bit more of like a portato staccato blend, which could help with the texture, because right now it sounds a little bit like you're connecting a little bit more than you want to because it's a little bit inconsistent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Yeah. This is the first time I've gotten like auditory feedback on these video reviews. Typically, it's like I'm waiting for a text. I'm like, it's like, yeah, good, fine, dope, and now like I get to hear great. Like, okay. I'm thinking about the left hand as well. Like, I feel like I'm just gonna simplify into like this G, two G sharps. I can't get the rhythm because it's not intuitive to me. You can hold over a little bit with the pedal, but I feel like you can also bounce a little bit more, right? And this is something that I don't typically recommend to like beginners, right? Because beginners have a hard time already with like finger independence and depend too much on the wrist and stuff like that. But for something like this, I would recommend a little bit more rotation about the hand, like here, about the wrist, and a little bit more bounce, right? So you're almost playing this with like with just like arm weight, right? And you're just dropping it onto the keys.
See.
Except with a little bit more control, right? I'm gonna simplify again because I can't get the rhythm. Right, and from both hands, it's like this bouncing that's a little bit from the flexibility of the wrist and a little bit from the arm, and using a whole lot more like weight that's controlled in order to get like a stickier sort of staccato, right? It's not exactly staccato, but it's a little bit bouncier than just like, you know, a normal portato as well, which is just, right, like something like that. And that just adds texture and feel. Yeah, and so here, right, this section, so first off, I mean, just, you know, like the rhythm's a little bit, you know, a little bit inconsistent, but that's okay, right? One thing that could help, when you bounce into the center, right, this is when you can make a contrast from the opening. And this contrast might actually help as well. If you make these more staccato so that you can jump back to play up here with your 4th and 5th, right? To give yourself a little bit more time to get ready for those notes. So that you're not always just like stretched out like this, right? This stretch here for you looks a little bit unnatural, right? And feels a little bit unnatural as well. And so shortening this to bounce back will help with getting that hand position and also getting a little bit of the texture. And since this is difficult, right, trilling with 4 and 5 is difficult. Again, bouncing a little bit from the wrist, right, from the arm will help with that as well. So this is, I suppose, the same technique as before. You're just applying it like over more notes. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. Just be a little bit more loose.
Yes, a little bit more loose, but it's a controlled looseness, right? It's not like flopping about. So. I like that. The way you switch fingers. I think you switch fingers like 1/4 on the repeated notes, right? That's always good to see.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Textural contrast. Good stuff. Okay, so this is an interesting idea that you don't necessarily have to do, right? But this is something that I hear and that I'm like, ooh, maybe this would be interesting. So you hear this part, right? What you're doing is connecting with the notes, right? You're like kind of like dragging, right? And like connecting all the notes together, which is a big contrast from before, especially if you add that extra bounce, right? But once you get to here, I literally can't play by ear. I wish I could do better. Sorry, team. But or whatever. You can do how do I say? You can make the texture like something somewhat in between the opening verse and the pre-chorus. Right? The pre-chorus is very legato, the opening verse is very bouncy. And do something in between. How does this work? By bouncing like you did in the verse, but holding the pedal. And so then that makes the articulation come through as more bouncy, but you get more of that connectedness as though you were still playing that pre-chorus. Right? So you end up with something in between. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
And so it all comes together to like build into like this like you're building layers, right? And this is something that we can think about with like phrasing. I remember one of my first streams when I talked about playing with direction and like phrasing the whole piece, right? One of the questions that came up, or phrasing each section, one of the questions that came up is how do I phrase the entire piece? How long is a phrase? How do I play with, what notes am I playing towards, right? And there's like several ways to answer that. And one is you can think about, you know, individual phrases. You can think about like cadential movement. You can think about like for like basic ideas and like, you know, whatever, sentences, whatever. If you understand those sorts of things when it comes to like sonatas and like classical writing, or you can think about the entire structure of the piece and changing, especially for a pop song, I think, or pop arrangements, changing textures and changing dynamics between sections on the piano is almost like necessary or very vital, right, to make things move and to make things feel like they are fluid, right? If we play everything with too homogeneous of a texture, then everything kind of blends together. Because in a song, right? I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling for a stream right now, Eric, but in a song, what
That's
you
okay.
for the content, you know what I'm about. But in a pop song, right, when you produce a song, the way you change like all these things is by adding more instruments to the arrangement, by taking out instruments from the arrangement, by changing the words, right? Changing lyrics, right? Affects how things feel to us because that's like the different pronunciations, enunciations, all these things, right? But how do you take that to a piano, especially for a pop production, which a lot of times is very compressed and very, very homogeneous, right? And very, very dense in that sort of way. And that's by varying textures, right? Varying energies by dynamics and by pushing and pulling the tempo a little bit more than they do in the song. And so this is one of the ways, the TLDR, one of the things that you can do is for each section, mark out how you want it, right? And then do your best to, and do your best to make like slight variations between the two. And of course, one of the variations is that there's no variation, right? So you can become very free and very, very creative with how you do this. And this is how interpretations, I think, also come about when playing arrangements, which is a very interesting thing because you'd expect everything to be homogeneous aside from the arrangement itself, but like even playing one arrangement, there's different things to think about, which is why I love playing animants and why you should play some animants too, Eric. No, I'm kidding. You can play whatever you want. But moving on.
No, I like your interpretation.
Yeah. Of course, this is something just to try out, right? Just to try out, if you ever come back to it. But like moving forward, right, this is something that you can apply to other things as well. Especially for a song like, you know, like Kaibutsu, where there's like so much like funky synth stuff going on. But moving on. More bounce in the left hand still. Yeah. Yeah, like even these, right, with like or whatever, right? Sorry, I'm like searching for notes. Yeah, like even with that, there's like a little bit of phrasing there that can go on. So I know my first few streams I like was like phrasing, dynamics, whatever, a whole lot. And this is a point that I think we can apply even through texture, right? So phrasing and dynamics and movement, right? Coming down this like these skips and into the steps, right? There's a certain I'm going to use the same words over and over again. There's a certain movement to it, right? It comes down. Like we can sing it very smoothly and very legato, and that helps us phrase first, right? Right. And then we add the texture on top of it. Sorry. Right, and that's how I would go about phrasing something like this. Instead of having everything homogeneous, right? So again, this is something that I note with a lot of Annie pianists around this like skill level, or even like a little bit below, right? We get the overarching dynamics correct, right? This is more forte than this section before. Perhaps I would say that you can still be a little bit more aggressive with the dynamic changes, right? For the reasons that I described earlier, but now how do we do the micro like dynamics within, right? How do we treat the dynamics not as just like discrete points, but how do we treat the dynamics as ranges, right? And how do we fluctuate within each one? And this is something that is aided by phrasing, this is aided by the way that we sing it. And you can even hear how the singer sings it. It sounds like she's coming to the end of a statement, and her voice kind of like drops a little bit, right? And the way that we play can reflect that as well. Does that kind of make sense, Eric?
It does, yeah.
Cool. Moving on. Oh. Loading. Okay, there we go. Ooh. I feel like I have to listen to this again because I was coming out of the chorus. So I'm not going to comment too much on that, simply because it was a touch scrambly, right? That's just like a technical thing to work on first before like adding the texture on top. And of course, coming out of chorus, then you get to choose which texture are we going for, verse, pre-chorus, or more chorus, right? We split into those three broad categories, and you know that's after we clean up some of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right there. So this second part of the verse, right? So the first part should, I think, drop a little bit more in dynamic. right? Because we're coming out of a big chorus and we're coming out of a big, I guess, pre-verse or whatever, and we're recapitulating almost, if we want to be fancy about it, the first verse, right? But what's the difference? The difference, either textural or in the arrangement, right? The arrangement helps because it drops an octave, or also in dynamics. So you drop the dynamic here, right, to pianissimo. Again, I don't know what the dynamic range of your piano is, so forgive me if you're like already playing as lightly as you can, and I'm like saying, hey, yo, do more, because, you know, some VSTs are weird, some velocities are weird, or whatever, right? But I'll drop the dynamic more. And there, right? This can be yes, it can come back up because it's like you're moving into the second part of the verse. It's like da 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 or whatever. Da 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 da. Right.
Yeah, see, it can be more dramatic.
Mm-hmm. It's like either that or this becomes more staccato, right? This becomes more staccato to give it a textural difference, right? So it definitely helps. So this is actually one of the things I think Fruit and I talked about when we talked through, when I streamed with Fruit that one time, and we listened to both our arrangements of this game. I commented on how when I get to, what was it? Wait, sorry. Shoot, I forget what section. One of the sections in the chorus with the run. Right, the part with the run, I literally don't, for some reason I can't hear it in my head, so I can't play it, shoot. But it's the part where there's a run, where if you listen to my recording compared to anyone else's, I drop to like a mezzo piano, almost like piano, right, if I could really have my way, but nobody else does, right, everyone keeps the forte. And so Fruit and I were talking about this, and his point was that with the arrangement, it thins out, so it already drops in dynamic naturally. But I personally like to take it the next step to make it sound a little bit more drastic, right? So that it's something that sticks out to you a little bit more beyond just the arrangement changing. So for even something like this, right, the arrangement changes, right? It goes up an octave, so it gives it a lift in energy inherently. But like you can also add like one more layer to draws the listener's ear that makes it slightly more interesting, and that's either textural or dynamics. And I feel like today I'm going to be talking about texture and dynamics a lot, since I suppose those are the words on my mind. But yeah.
No, I like that.
Yeah. Thank you. This is good stuff. I like your videos too. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks. So do I.
Yeah, just line that up a little bit. So this is interesting. Let's see, what fingering you're using. That's good. Yeah, I was making sure that you were going 1/4 on the WattKeys because that's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But again, I think this is an area where you can go a little bit heavier, right? And to help with going a little bit, or like a little bit blockier, right? Dun 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 bum 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 bum. Is you use more wrist, right? It's the same movement I've talked about before, I think, on stream, where if you were to play octaves, like scales and octaves, it's like this flopping wrist movement here, like up and down. So, right, same thing here. Like, okay. I'll demonstrate up here. Right, like that, right? So it is not just, your usual chord, which also gives you, like, on top of this movement, right, which is what you need to move back and forth, this will give you the extra layer of texture, right, that we're looking for. A little bit of tap, a little bit of spice, right? So, hello Tim's Piano Studio, and hello Derek, what's up? And yes, my channel has grown a lot. I used to only have 200 subs. That's a very frightening thought. Not frightening, but like, interesting thought. But don't worry, Eric's next. Eric's gonna he's gonna get that Weeble sponsorship, and he's gonna eclipse me soon. Thanks for stopping by, Tiru. I appreciate it. But moving on. Nice. Personally, I think I would have the jumps a little bit softer because I feel like they stick out enough, right? And so it competes. It doesn't really compete with the melody because the melody there's enough spread in the frequency range, but it draws my ear a little bit too much, just for how loud it is. But that's, I think, artistic, and you can do that if you want. But good voicing. If you want to emphasize again the funkiness in the left hand rhythm, then you articulate more and make the notes shorter, right? If you make the notes shorter, then it won't bleed so much into the other notes that you're playing in the right hand, the melody, but it will still punch a little bit harder, right? Like one of the ways that we make instruments stand out in a dense mix when I'm doing audio engineering, when I'm doing like a rock production or whatever, is I will automate when the instrument comes in, so make it slightly louder and then bring it back down to the level that it should be at, right? And so when the instrument first comes in, your ear immediately goes to it and then you can follow it and track it, right? Same thing for this. If you bake the articulation more, even if you don't hold the note for longer, your ear will be able to follow and track it, and it becomes an interesting thing that sticks out in the listener's head. Right, as a pianist, this is something that I think about a lot, right? Especially when I'm working on things with a lot of voices and a lot of things that like come together. It's like, what am I thinking about, like very explicitly, and what do I want the listener to be able to hear, right? Because you're not going to be able to like think about literally each and every single moving phrase. You're not going to be able to think about or even draw attention to every single thing that happens, right? And that's why we have to layer. Like so many things. It's not just 2 layers. Sometimes it's like 3. Sometimes it's 4, right? Depending on how many notes you're playing. But how do we get different things to jump out at different times, right? The melody is always relatively easy to follow, especially for songs like this where you know what the melody is, right? Your brain already knows what to look for. Now it's how do we get the listener's attention to jump to other things really quickly so that it adds that extra layer of interest. Right, it adds that extra layer of spice. It's not just another rehash of the melody. And doing things like this, again, with the quick articulation on the left hand, like, right, really quick. And not hold it for less, right? But it will draw the listener's ear, and it'll be like, oh, there's something else going on there. So that's something that we can try.
Okay, so you're saying for my left hand, I should accent it, right? And just make it shorter?
So accent a little bit more and make it slightly shorter so that it doesn't bleed actually into the right hand. It'll just draw the ear, right? Because it'll have that like snap of articulation, and then we'll go back to listening to the melody, right? And it's like like hearing different things coming in at different places. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Like that da 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 comes in on top. This is good. Right, softer, much more connected. Good. I think same comments about like phrasing that I made in the first chorus, right? Just like sing it out and see how the original singer sings it too, right? Da 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 da, right? And just like add the dynamics there first. And then add the texture over it. So the last thing that I'll say about this, right, because I'm just hammering the same points home over and over again, which is usually how these streams go, but that's okay. The last thing that you could do to change this chorus, right, something that I do a lot when I'm playing anime arrangements, is that the last chorus, to me, always seems to have to feel the biggest, right, because it feels like it's the climax of the song. After a bridge, the bridge changes keys, right, changes a chord structure, and so it feels like it's building tension. And you're coming out of the bridge into a softer version of the chorus for a lot of these songs, right? Or even a lot of these arrangements, and into something, so that it creates enough contrast for a very big ending. And so for the ending, this is where I'm, like, if I was, like, very short and staccato-y before, I'll become a little bit more portato. I'll become a little bit heavier, right? Stick on the notes a little bit more to give it a little bit more weight and a little bit more ring, right? I say a lot, Longer notes that are held longer feel louder, and notes that are held shorter feel softer, right? And this is something that definitely applies here. Even if it's like a fraction of a second longer, that's the fraction of a like bit of contrast that's needed to distinguish this chorus from the ones that came before, right?
Cool.
Nice. This can call back to the opening, right? Or the first verse of like da da ba 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 ba, very staccato, and create that like bit of like, you know, I keep using the word contrast, but like again, more contrast, right? More different textures, more things for us to like be interested about, and to be like, oh, this is Eric playing. This is not anyone else playing. This is Eric Lee playing, right? And that's what I want to hear. So it's all these thoughts that can come together and create a very interesting interpretation. And hopefully, I've given you some things to think about, you know, moving forward as well, for other things that you're working on. Maybe the next time you record Chica Dance or whatever, or another meme thing. No, I'm messing. But do you have any questions or any comments or any thoughts?
No, no questions, but you know, I appreciate you taking the time and just, you know, giving me some feedback. I will, you know, definitely work on the dynamics and phrasing.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Thanks for submitting a video. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed listening to it. Yeah, no problem. See you, dude. Again, y'all should go follow Eric if you don't already, because the man's putting out content and he's doing stuff. I detect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I detect blunders and text mistakes. You know, I sometimes hesitate to even call these things mistakes because it's like it's not technically wrong, right? It's not wrong to not do them, but it's like things to make it more interesting. It's things to put your own stamp on what you're doing, right? It's not. I'm not just another Kaibutsu cover. I'm not just another rendition of even Anime Pro's Kaibutsu cover. I am myself playing this because I have a specific way that I hear things, I have specific thoughts and things that I want to add to the conversation of different ways to play this. And that's what makes these things like very, very interesting. A whole lot of fun, at least for me. So yeah, of course, you know, there's always like technical things, right, for us to clean up, but you know, there's always a point where I think as a YouTuber or someone putting music out like this as well, where you say, you know what, screw the mistakes, we're just gonna release a video, and that's something that I need to learn too, right? Hopefully my audience and you guys, right, who care about my music, will hear my ideas through the mistakes, right? But we also need to have like the strength of the idea behind it first to then push it out and then make it a thing. So, anyways, what's up, Halcyon? Thanks for stopping by before your stream. Hopefully I don't bleed too much into your stream and leech like 3 viewers from you, since you got like hundreds more people watching you than I ever will have watched me. But yo, thanks for stopping by, dude. Doing vid reviews, and then we will go to your stream. Yeah. When am I reviewing a Halcyon cover? That's my real question. No, I'm kidding. Halcyon plays well. Halcyon plays very well. But anyways, let me take like a 5-minute break. I will switch back to my chatting view. There we go. So that I can preserve some battery on this camera. Oh, I turned it the wrong way. I wish I got another Kit Kat bar so that I could chill a little bit longer and have some more calories coming into the system. But that's okay. That's okay. It happens. Yeah. Oh, let me throw on my background music again, because it's not about entertaining the stream. It's about making me feel legit, right? Having background music always makes me feel legit. Hello, Sophia. Thanks for stopping by, and I will do my best to ganbatte and keep up the work. But yeah, again, if you weren't here for this earlier, or what I said earlier, or if you haven't checked the description, which I don't know why you didn't, but we're all going to Halcyon stream after this, because Halcyon streams, I don't know how often you stream Halcyon, but like sometimes it feels like you stream every few weeks, sometimes it feels like every few months, but this time you're streaming at a nice time for us USA people, and so I'm like, gotta move the stream forward, right? So that I can make Halcyon stream and listen to him play live instead of just watching the VOD and being like, dang, he's my man. But every 2 to 3 weeks, yeah, that seems like the schedule. So people follow Halcyon and go check out his stream when it goes live. But but yeah, every 2 weeks. Anyways, any thoughts on review we just did? Or thoughts on the new stream layout? I don't know. I put some work into this. You know, I would appreciate validation. I would appreciate validation. But no, I'm messing. Hopefully this is still interesting. Wow, we have a little bit more viewers than I did last time when I did a review. Again, if you would like to submit a video for review, like this, and you would like me to talk through your videos, right? You can do so in my Discord when I make announcements for it. This week I had I don't know how many I got. I got quite a few. Real quick, also comment for people who are here from Discord who submitted a video that I didn't get to. Unfortunately, this is the second time in a row that I haven't gotten to Sayuri's video, but hopefully, or third time in a row, but maybe we'll get to it at some point. But currently at the moment, I'm most likely going to not do any reviews that, one, aren't of you playing, and two, are Fonzie covers, because Fonzie's company always claims my videos and sometimes demonetizes them. So not doing any Fonzie covers. Sorry, Fonzie, I love you, bro. But that's just how it be sometimes. That's just how it be. But also requests for reviews on arrangements. So if you do videos of you just just uploading synthesia and MIDI and stuff like that, I most likely won't do videos of that sort, because the way I format my thoughts about arrangements are always performance first and not arrangement first. And so I won't be much help to you, especially since I'm learning arrangement myself, right? And if I don't know the original song well enough, I actually won't be able to provide anything useful except maybe saying vary the texture here, and maybe play thirds or sixths instead of just octaves or something like that, right? And that's not very helpful. That's not very specific, and that's not actionable at the moment for a lot of people. So yeah, just some guidelines for submissions, and if you want to submit videos and stuff like that. Things to look forward to and think about in the future. Tried to unravel, ended up wrong. Nice. But anyways, who's the second person that said I was going to review? Let me check. Oh, Ace? Azariru's piano covers? Bro, if you're in, let's see. Let me ping him in my chat. Also, I typically don't do reviews of people who aren't live in Discord at the moment, simply because I like getting feedback. You know, I as someone who's trying to teach, at least somewhat, I want to be able to make sure that what I'm explaining makes sense to you. And if I'm spending too much time on a point, you can tell me to move on, unless I'm explaining it for a stream, like I did just now for a lot of things. So if you, that's also why I asked for dates. Unfortunately, I did shift the time this time around because Halcyon stream and got a show for Halcyon. But if Ace isn't around, then we'll just move on to Mad Piano's Life's Mushishi's arrangement and listen to that. Learn 3 pages of Unravel. He just gave up. Don't worry. Unravel is difficult. You shouldn't judge how well you're doing by Unravel. Unravel utilizes very specific techniques that are difficult for some people, easier for others. And it's like, you can't do it, or yet, right? And maybe it'll be easier for someone else than it is for you. So, but also if you want to learn Unravel, you should watch Halcyon's stream where he breaks it down, because Halcyon can play Unravel, unlike me. Oh man. But alright, I'm not getting a response from Ace, so I'll give it 2 more minutes. Nah, it's all good, dude. It's all good. We want to see you more than we want to see me anyways. So trying to get ready to One Piece, ended up wrong. But yeah. Yeah, Halcyon, I'm not making any of these comments to throw shade. I'm just saying, like, as a statement of fact that I wanted to move the stream so that I could show up to yours. It's not because I didn't just want to like split my viewers either, right? It's literally because I wanted to show up to yours. So, but yeah, the Arpeggio Madness section, it deters me from wanting to learn more of Unravel as well. Because I just don't want to have to line up everything. And it seems like a little bit of a pain. Mendakusai, but that's okay. Anyways, what are people's plans for the summer? I mean, I guess this is much more relevant of a question to people who are students and, you know, stuff like that, because if you're a working class adult, your stuff just, your summer schedule typically ends up being this very similar to the rest of the year, bar some holidays, right? Depending on your country. But like, you know, what are people's plans for the summer? Like, are you working on content? You working on new music? You going to spend several days binging anime that you didn't watch during the year or rest of the year? Like, what's up with everyone? What are we up to? Grind piano, get a summer job, stay away from math. That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan. Dude, I'm thinking about like how much piano I have to grind, right? And how it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very tiring, and but it'll also be rewarding. But the thing is, it's like, having not done it for a while, I'm like thinking about how do I take it slow so I don't actually hurt myself, you know? Because I don't, you know, like, overuse is the thing. Even if you have good technique, good form, whatever. And so immediately like adding tons of strain to your body when you're not used to it, it's not great. But sleeping, of course, the OG response, 500 characters of Mandarin. Let's go. 这么好，这么was it 困难？我不喜欢学中文，可是我 was it? I forget the word. My Chinese is so bad. Good thing I speak more Cantonese than Mandarin. 我想學多啲國語，但我想學點樣寫國語。我想學多啲廣東話，但係啲人喺個 Discord 唔中意同我講廣東話，佢全部啲香港人都中意講英文。奇怪，真係好奇怪。Anyways, organized lays, ping pong, volleyball, drinking, and chess boxing matches. Let's go chess boxing. Good stuff. It's not box or arpeggio should line up mainly on the downbeats. No, it's like I'm kind of nitpicky about all my lining up. I'll line up on not just the downbeats, but I also like to align things, like even the dotted like 16ths or dotted eighths and then the 16ths on like general areas and stuff like that. So that's why it's a bit cancerous for me to have to work through, because Beethoven kind of demands that, especially when I played Beethoven in the past, and that's how I think. Seasonal animes, discover different anime music at the same time. Let's go. When did I start learning piano? When I was like 3. Probably binge anime. Grind maths and physics. Let's go, maths and physics. That's the good stuff. It was also the hard stuff, which takes a lot of time and effort. And learn more animes. Let's go. I can't even recognize that much of your Chinese. Math, because you suck at it and don't want to repeat. Oh no. Yes, we definitely don't want to repeat. But good luck on your math, everyone. I feel like when I was in, you know, grade school, middle school, through high school, math was not bad. And then I got to college. You know, like the first year of like whatchamacallit, like multiple integrals and like partial derivatives, that was fine. I did well in that. But once we got to like linear algebra and first order differential equations and then like second order partial differential equations, that's what kicked my butt a little bit. So yeah, good luck with everyone, for everyone to do that. I don't know how, but like somehow for my physics degree, I don't think unless next year my was it thermo class I have to do this, but I don't know enough about thermo to know if this is a thing in thermo. I think it's mostly in quantum. Right, and since I don't need to take another quantum class, I'm going to assume that I don't need to do it. But like tensors, I haven't had to work with tensors. And so for people who've dealt with the pain of dealing with tensors, I feel for you. But like I actually don't empathize that much because I've never done tensors, and I'm really glad that I dodged a bullet there. But maybe someday I will. Math gets exponentially more difficult. Let's go, Halcyon. Let's go. Tell him. Yeah. Yes, and you start using rational equation calculator for everything. Yeah. When you're like Wolfram alphaing like all your difficult integrals because you don't feel like doing them by hand anymore, you forget what use substitution is. That's my life. I've like at this point, this past year, I don't know how many times I've looked up what the quotient rule is, and like for derivatives, and I'm like, why did I have to look that up? And it's like I still know it, but like I'm not confident in my knowledge of it, and so I had to look it up. And I'm like, I see how it is. But anyways, all right. Let's go on to reviewing the next video so that we can make Halcyon stream. Woo! All right, Mad Piano Life. If you can join my Discord voice chat, so that I can share the screen with you and communicate a little bit more quickly, without having to, what should we call it? There we go. Poggers. Alright, one sec. Can you see my screen? You feel free to type or...
give me a minute.
Can you see my screen? Okay. Feel free to...
There's so much like interlay lag between Discord and YouTube, it's so awkward.
Yeah.
Between Discord and YouTube, it's so awkward.
Yeah, I get to hear myself like 3 times. That was a fun experience. Alright, let's see. Let me pull this up. Alright. I'm just gonna quick get the volume. Pause my stream background music. Let's go. Alright. Let's see. The echo game be strong. That's what it is. But alright, let's see. How's the volume, chat? I feel like this is coming in about okay. Maybe a bit strong. I'll turn it down a little bit more. Alright, how's it sound? Volume is good, a bit loud? Okay. Is it still a bit loud? Compared to my voice, compared to the piano, everything's still good. I hope. Alright, I'm gonna assume it's fine. So, anyways, again, as usual, I'll wait until I get more tactile response. Probably a bit lower. Okay. How's that? I hope. Oh yeah, just to avoid my voice getting drowned out. Good. Pog. Alright. I like how my affirmations now are like pog. Dope. Pog champ. Poggers. Anyways. Alright. Are we back? My man?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, let me adjust your call volume quick. Just to make sure that... Alright. Dope. Dude, another person is willing to hop on a voice chat with me and go through the video? What? What is happening today? This is a special day indeed. But, dude, thanks for, first and foremost...
It's a nice format to have. You get immediate feedback, and we get, like, you know, the first-hand backseat audience experience.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point of oh yeah, sorry, I'm still adjusting volume. But like this is why these days I want to handle everything on Discord. This is actually the reason why I made Discord in the first place, so that I could do these video reviews. It wasn't because I wanted to build a community, it's because I wanted to do video reviews. But anyways, dude, first and foremost, y'all should go again follow and go check out Mad Piano Life. Covers like this, good stuff. good arrangements and
I
stuff that is
pretty much
emotional.
tried to copy like a 2013, 2014 Animans vibe. So
Dude,
that's
it's all good.
pretty much the gist.
That's how we all start off, right? Copying other people
Yeah.
and things like that. It's like even with interpreting, we start off by copying a good interpretation that we like, and then over time it develops into our own thing. Like literally when I'm writing like arrangements nowadays, like again I arrange very slowly, which is why I haven't had much experience with it. Like sometimes I can go back and track what I was working on, like on the piano, and like see like, oh, this is where it's directly influenced by like the things that I was playing, right? So it's all very
I
interesting.
definitely feel that.
Yeah, but anyways, also thank you for all the comments that you leave on my videos. I really appreciate them and I really enjoy reading them.
I think likewise, on the other hand, you put really good quality content. It's pretty much a fair assessment. When I put a comment forth, I do want to put it there because I think you deserve it. Really good stuff, man.
Dude, thanks. I appreciate that. Now let's hope and get a good review in as well. All right. Is there a specific part of this medley that you want me to listen to? Since it is 15 minutes long, and we're probably going to get to like 5
actually,
minutes.
if you could go down to the comments, I pinned certain songs that I think have like the most need for a review.
Okay.
I would like to say the first one, the Mushishi main theme, and Fude no Umi if you can.
Fude
And
no
if you have
Umi.
time for
Yep.
a third one, I would go to Hitoyobashi, 9:30.
9:30. Okay, so we'll start with the first one then, and we'll talk through it. Hopefully, so one of the things that I'll note right off the bat is just with like the way that it's recorded and it being mono, I might make some assessments that aren't entirely fair, right? Since the dynamic range is like very very small. So if I say like play more softly and you're like already playing as soft as you can, like that's because I can't hear it, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I understand.
Yeah. All right, here we go. And again, I'm also going to attempt to play by ear, which is something that I'm not very good at. So. Oh, hey! Wearing a suit? I see you. So I don't know the song, right? So I don't know how it actually goes.
Would you like me to give you like a rundown as best as I can?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm just gonna make comments, and if it's like not like related to how the original song goes, then you can feel free to disregard, right?
Got it. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so this B to E F sharp, right, sort of thing. Well, to me it sounds a little bit flat, right? It sounds like a little bit like ba dum ba bum ba bum. When I would prefer it to be a little bit more ba-dum, 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 right? There's a little bit of like a direction to it. Like the first one is a little bit heavier than the second. And
Got it.
I'm gonna watch your hand. It seems like you're doing it a tiny bit, but like I feel like it's not an intentional movement, right? It looks like you're, unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with the delay with watching the stream and my camera setup while also listening to me talk on Discord. But you go side to side like this, right? When the movement it involves a bit of a wrist movement, right? Definitely to do that. But I prefer a little bit more wrist movement where we get like a down up, right? For the slur, right? Like.
Got it. I'm noting that right now.
Yeah. So I don't know how much classical training or whatever or instruction you've received in the past, but have you learned like the down up for like slurs and legatos and stuff like that? Like dropping the wrist and it coming up?
I think I've learned like the basic fundamentals of classic. My mom taught me. She herself was like, she's not a professional, but she was a classical pianist.
Okay, let's go.
So she did teach me like the wrist movements, you know, the ups and downs, how to jump.
So this is precisely what I'm talking about for this, right? Like, and one thing that you could do, right, in order to make it a little bit more connected, so that you don't have to add pedal to make it a little bit more mushy, is you can drag the B into the E and the F sharp, right? You can drag it slightly so it sounds a little connected.
Holding down the sustain for that note into like the next segment.
Yeah, so you can either this is just like almost textural, right? If you drag the B into the next two notes, you can use less sustain, or it becomes a little bit more glued even through the sustain, right? So if I don't know if it comes through as much through this, right? But right, there we go. Right, the way that you do the down up is affected by the way that you hold the B, and as a result, it changes the way that you glue the two notes together. It gives it a little bit more interesting texture than just like as you're doing it here. But does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
All right, cool, cool, cool. And yeah, I was going to recommend a very similar movement for right the run in the right hand. I feel like it can be a little bit lighter, right? So this is when I hear this, I think sparkle, right? I want this run to be like very sparkly, very glittery, especially through the pedal, right? Right. And the two ways.
The
Yeah.
intent of the song itself, I think Mushishi conveys this through the OSTs it have, and I don't think a sparkly kind of energy is what I tried to go for here.
Okay.
Trying to make it sound more like, like lingering spirits,
A little
kind
bit
of
lingering.
mystical at the same time, a little
Ooh.
bit unknown.
So a little bit mystical, a little bit unknown. Okay. So I think this is also aided by perhaps so perhaps not as sparkly, but still a little bit more detached, right? And so the way that I think the technique that I would apply here to do that would be about the same, right? It's what you're doing here is correct, which is lifting the wrist down up, right? But I would also lift the fingers a little bit more when you're striking the key. So if I were you're doing it without the wrist lift, and if I were doing it without pedal, unfortunately you're going to have to listen through lag again. But right, it would be kind of like that. Like you hear how it's like a little bit detached on each note, right? It's not like if I were to legato all of them together, it would be like that. But instead, there's a little bit of like detachment and a little bit of articulation to all of it. Now we add the wrist back in. Right.
Also, I'm going to pull out a 200 IQ move and watch your stream on my phone and the Discord on my laptop. So give me like a minute.
Okay. I'll take a pulse. But let's see what the chat is up to. Greetings from Germany. Yo, what's up? Sorry, I'm leaning over to read your name. Zakuro. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. How many years have I been playing piano? I get this question all the time. Where's my mods with the commands? Was it exclamation point years? It's about 18 years now. Rate your video on Insta. You can submit that in my video reviews when I announce that next time. If I changed my hairstyle, I'd be Kosei instead of Sakamoto. That is also true. Europe. Hello, Hayden.
Okay, I'm back by the way. Thank you for waiting.
All right, cool. Let's hit this again. Yeah. So again, it's this finger lift, right, with the down up from the wrist, right. That gives us a little bit of that textural sparkle or shimmer, right, is what we're going for more than anything. A sparkle implies a lot more detached, but a little bit of that shimmer, and with the wrist lift, then we get that echo through the pedal right at the end. So if I hold the pedal. Right, it's kind of like that. I feel like it's a very subtle thing. Perhaps a little bit too subtle, right, for the way that you're recording here, and perhaps you're already doing a lot better, right, than what I can hear. But this is something that I know. Your fingers don't seem to be coming very high, and oops, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, there we go. But the wrist lift is good. Yeah. So it looks like you're bouncing a little bit from the wrist, right? In order to reach some of these notes. Is that intentional or?
I think the bouncing of the wrist helps you maintain like dynamic control better. That's just how I personally find it. Because if I don't move my wrist, like sometimes if it's just fingers only, you don't accurately get the dynamics down as properly.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. So what I would recommend instead of bouncing up and down is to move side to side and to shift weight from the arm, like here, right? Okay. So if you're gonna watch the stream again, this rotational movement here, and also this sort of like weight distribution from the arm, like side to side. It's like kind of like pivoting about the elbow and like the upper arm a little bit. Right. So instead of right, and I'm exaggerating, right? But right. And so it's a combination, as I tell a lot of my students who are now having to relearn, like, how to strike from the finger and stuff like that. It first, and this is more so for the stream than for you, so bear with me for a quick sec. Oh yeah, it's already a command, Winter. Thanks, man. But let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay. The way we approach dynamics, or the way that I approach teaching dynamics, right, is first we learn how to strike with the fingers, right, and lift the fingers. And then the second thing that we do is adjust how high we lift the fingers, right, to strike the key, and use that to affect how our dynamics are. And then we start adding the down up from the wrist, right, and then we start adding arm weight side to side. And so for something like this, right, for a very precise control of the dynamics as you're talking about, then this side-to-side motion seems like almost rotational movement, right, from my wrist. If you'll observe, again, on stream, it's like this circular motion in order to get this these notes played. That's probably what's best for this.
I will definitely practice that tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's far better, I think, than the up and down. Up and down makes it sound chunky as well, right? But this helps you glue things together and phrase like da-da-dum. So. Yeah, there's more of that lift from the left hand. Good stuff. And I would, I'm only playing the melody because I can't suss out the rest of the chords, like, off the cuff. But even for these, like, chords and stuff, instead of bouncing, try to connect, right?
Try to connect. Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying now.
Yeah, because then it'll sound like bum bum bum. And I don't think we're
same thing with the beginning, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So you're matching the beginning here. You're maintaining that sort of like ethereal vibe, right? It is not like very staccato or very, very martelé, for lack of a better term, or hammer-like, right? I feel like martelé is more of a viol or string instrument sort of marking than for piano, but yeah. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Oh, and by like necessity there, you had to rotate the wrist sideways and in a circular motion. Right, you hear how there was like slightly more like instead of like da da dum, right, went da da dum, right. There was a little bit of a build towards the F sharp because you had to rotate in like that, and that's what we're looking to apply for everything else.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. There it is with the left hand. So I think what I want to say real quick on the arpeggio coming up in the left hand as well, because it sounds a little bit homogeneous, is what you can do is emphasize the first note, right? So the first low E, or I suppose for whatever chord you're playing, is the one that's setting essentially the chord for the rest of the measure, right? And or like two measures or whatever.
I think I know what you're referring to. My mom actually did say that once. It's like if you're going to a new measure, you usually play like the first note a little bit louder to emphasize entering that new measure.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay, yeah.
So you emphasize that a little bit so I think the way that I've always thought about it is, how does something ring, right? It has to resonate through the pedal, and if we're performing on stage, right, how does it ring through a whole hall, right? Through everything else that we're playing. And so this is again that little rotational like circular wrist motion downwards into that note. And then as you circle back, right, and rotate back up, then that creates the rotation that you need and the control that you need to come up the arpeggio. And then from here on out is this down up motion, right, from the wrist. So you're right. It's this piece is very difficult to play, or this arrangement right now is very difficult to play with the precision and control that you need by lifting the fingers, right, only, and controlling dynamics that way. But I think there's a little bit more that we can add to create a little bit more interesting phrasing, for lack of a better term, right, through the rest of the piece. And again, making the first note ring will also help you phrase the next two, right? So that it's not just, but there's, right.
Okay, yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's very funny, right? It's very interesting how, like, when you're playing piano, at least I find for myself, if you get like one or two things like played a specific way, and you hear it a specific way, and you think about those things a specific way, then everything else just seems to fall together or fall into place, right? And so for me, a lot of times, like, if I get the first note right in the left hand for like a new measure like this, then everything else just naturally seems to phrase itself the way that I want it to, right? And it becomes a matter of how do I hear that first note, And if I don't hear that first note correctly, then the rest of the measure is just going to sound chunky or blocky as well, right? And so I feel like that's what I spend a lot of time working on, right? When I'm playing my own stuff, it's just like trying to figure out, okay, what do I want each section to sound like? And then when I hear myself do it, right, how do I replicate that? Because then everything else falls together. It's like finding the notes that everything else hinges on to make it work. So
yeah, I get what you're saying. It's basically enter the zone, but you like have the same consistent in the tone and the atmosphere.
Yeah,
the first note you play. Yeah.
Exactly. It's finding the note that gets you into the zone. There we go.
Right.
Very nice. I enjoyed that. Is that the end of the first piece, by the way?
Yes, right.
Okay. So one of the comments that I want to make about the overarching structure of the arrangement is everything is in piano, right? Again, or like mezzo piano-ish.
I would say some parts are MP,
okay.
Other parts are in P as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the recording makes it sound relatively homogeneous, right? So I don't know how the small fluctuations are, but like I would say again, play a little bit more with like the range that you have between like the loudest a mezzo piano can be and the quietest a piano or pianissimo can be, right? Maybe. And then this is like the first how do I say? This is like the first statement, right? And this is the echo, so it's like softer, right?
Yeah.
And something like that. Or maybe this is builds a little bit, and then next time it decrescendos a little bit, right? And so it's like all these like little things that you can mess around with a little. I think that will make the piece flow a little bit more. Again, unfortunately, I can't hear the more subtle nuances that you could already be doing, but like it'll give it a little bit more contour and it'll like help it like move along a little bit more rather than just feel a little bit stagnant, right? So
it's just basically consider the visibility of the dynamics.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to take a little bit more risk, right? In raising like or going up higher to like the very edge of what a mezzo forte is going to be, right? Like the very bottom tier of what a mezzo forte is, and then like taking it all the way back down, right? Maybe even using left pedal for some of these things, if your left pedal works that way on your vertical. So, yeah. Actually, the first time I thought about this concept, story time, is I was at a Masterclass. If you read my description for Chopin's Ballade in G minor, it was with Vladimir Stupel, and he was teaching another student. I was about like 12 years old, or like 10 or 12 or something, and the student, I forget who it was and what piece he played. It was some romantic piece, but the entire thing was written in a piano dynamic, right? And after he finished playing, Mr. Stupel got up and was like, what dynamic is written here? And the guy was like, oh, it's piano, pianissimo, whatever, right? And Mr. Stupel got up and was like, that's very boring, right? You're playing very boring. Like, you're just playing homogeneous. If it's piano, you have to push the limit of what the piano is. If it's like pianissimo, you have to push the limit of what pianissimo is and work within that fluctuation. And he spent like, the 15, 30 minutes working with that student on doing precisely that. And like, ever since then, that's when I was like, oh, there's ranges to dynamic. It's not just like piano is piano, You got to work with the range. And so that's just a quick anecdote on why I care so much about these things, because a fearsome Russian pianist reprimanded another fellow student for it before me. But anyways, let's move on to the last one. What, Fude no Umi is what you asked? Correct. Okay, here we go. Ooh, loading. Oh, and paused. I'm gonna quick pause and wonder about the fingering real quick. I feel like passing up to a 2 gives you a little bit more control, simply because you can connect to 2 notes, right? Especially at how slow you're playing. Even through the pedal, you can feel this detachment, right, between the D and the E flat. I'm gonna assume it's an E flat, not a D sharp. So I think going up 2 up to the 2 will help with that connection and help you again phrase this a little bit better. Like, and I'm playing fast just to.
That's actually fair to know. I just think the reason I didn't do it is because my hands are small. But
Yeah,
I'll definitely consider that.
Yeah, and I can see that, right? But like, I think helping trying to like pull the hand together into this neutral position is beneficial, even for like especially for small hands, right? Pulling into a neutral position will give you more control than if you're like splayed out. And like since my hands are big enough that I can reach a 10th, kind of, right? Like this is relatively easier for me to try to connect these two and glue them together and slide along. But for you, definitely want to pass to a second.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely try to glue a little bit more. Even if it's like sliding the wrist over like this, right? I think some people will say don't ever move the wrist side to side like this, but I think a little bit of side to side movement like this, while leading with the arm, is beneficial for a lot of these things, right? To move over and to try to connect. Even if you can't actually physically connect the notes, try to drag the notes for as long as you can, and that will create more of that gluey feeling that we're going for, so that you don't have to rely as much on the pedal to do it. You're still going to pedal, right? Don't get me wrong. You're still going to pedal, but it'll sound a little bit more connected even through the pedal. Less of a portato.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Exactly. So, I just have a tendency to beat every point to death, as you know by now. So definitely stop me if I am too repetitive. It is not offensive to me at all. But
I think the concept might be a bit hard to understand for other people watching. So if I had to like reword it, it's if as long as you keep like quote unquote dragging and having your hand on the key, like the key sounds more refined and natural.
Yes.
But as you use the pedal, it like fades away a bit more. You lose that original sound.
Exactly. And like even the way that your hand is shaped, or the way that your hand moves, trying to move from key to key, right, has an impact on how you end up articulating a key. And trying to connect the notes inherently somehow makes your hand, I don't know, more conducive for phrasing like that. I don't know. That's like I feel like it's a very abstract thing, right? It's something that I never really thought about until like I found myself on stream trying to explain it to people, right? It's like something that my teacher's always been like, Caleb, connect the notes. And I'm like, oh, okay. And even if I can't connect the notes, she's like, sounds good. And I'm like, yeah, it does sound better. Like, what? I never had to think about why. But here we are. Anyways, moving on. Ooh, that's nice. I like that with a bit of a drop in the wrist roll. So I'm going to back up a little bit just so that I can listen to the left hand a little bit more, since I was paying attention mainly to the right. I think the right hand is fine. You could say like, okay, how are you going to phrase like the notes that ring, right? Like what's the direction with those? But like it's also perfectly valid, I think, here, and not just uninteresting, right? I keep using the word interesting, not that I mean ill by saying something is disinteresting, right? But like it works, right, with each note ringing the way that it is, because it's held for so long. So I'm going to listen to the left hand, since that feels like that's where the movement is, and that's like what we're kind of having to listen to. Yeah, so it's kind of like one of the comments they made to Eric. I forget when or what the context was, but I remember saying, oh, it's drawing the ear to other things, right, beyond just the melody. So you have the melody, or sorry, I've already forgotten the notes since I'm not paying attention. But like you have like this F ringing, right, and this is the main melody that we want to hear. But then while it's ringing, what can we also have our attention drawn towards? What can we also find musically interesting? What can we also find musical appeal? And that's the left hand coming up.
That sounds honestly a bit difficult, but yeah, that's actually an interesting notion you brought up.
Yeah, because it's like you can either have the F ring or those notes ring for the whole measure and hope that it's like, sustaining the flow of the music, right? Or you can have the notes that are actually moving the music along, or moving the music along a little bit more, swell up and then come back down. It's almost like a wave that comes in, right, a little bit, and you get to see a little bit of like what's like on the underside, and then it recedes back out to the ocean, and it comes back in a little bit more, and it like goes back out to the ocean, kind of like that, right? It can swell up and down a little bit. So sorry. And especially I think if the right hand is just going to have the role of sustaining and like having the note ring for the whole measure, then the variations in the left hand have to be, I think, a little bit more prominent just to maintain the interest in the song. I keep using the word interest because I feel like my brain is like short-circuiting on like synonyms for what I want to say. But you get what I mean, right? Like, it's things to pay attention to, it's things to think about, and things that draw the ear. And so how you play that each and every single time can vary slightly. Maybe this time you don't come up as loud. Maybe this time it's a little bit more connected. Maybe it's a little bit more detached, right? And since this isn't like, I don't know the original soundtrack. I don't know. It's not like an original composer. I can't say for certain what you can do, right? And I think as a arranger, you have a lot of freedom and artistic liberty in figuring out what you want to do here as well. So, yeah.
I think an analogy for that is if you've seen Food Wars, but if you haven't, there's a scene where there was a competition between two guys that made the exact same dish, but the dish that won was how they diversified the allocation of like the seasoning, and the proportion was like inconsistent and random. Gives a bit of more spice. I can see what you're saying here.
Right. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Food Wars, but that sounds like a very good analogy.
Yeah.
And of course, that's helped by switching to the 2 and not going 1-1. I feel like trying to connect those notes would be helpful as well. And I just want to comment on the slight rubato here. I don't know if it's intentional. It looks like half of it was searching for notes, and half of it was
exactly.
like actual.
Half of it was certain, but it is supposed to be rubato there.
Okay.
But yeah, half of it was searching for notes.
I was like, this is a tactical rubato right here.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, so I won't comment too much on that then, since it is very tactical in nature. But I was gonna say perhaps a little bit more feeling like pushing through something, but if you're searching for notes, you can't get that. Here, I think the detached nature of the phrase actually complements very nicely, right, everything else that's been going on. But you can also, of course, play more legato or smooth or whatever. But I think the consideration. Oh, why can't I find a note? Sometimes I'm like so tone deaf that it like astounds me. Okay, we're just gonna go with it because I can recognize a perfect fourth in my sleep. Like this, right? And then maybe this is a product of having played too much Bach in my life or whatever, but like I always think when I hear repeated melody, echo, right? Always echo. And the echo is always something slightly different, right? This doesn't necessarily have to happen in every piece, right? For example, I've used this example before in the ballad, right? This repeats like several times. And people typically don't make a change, right, for any of them. I mean, I do the second iteration, but I guess that's the kilowatt way of playing the ballad. But for something like this, I feel like you either change, right, the dynamic, or you can change the texture slightly. So here you can play it detached as you're doing, and then here perhaps a little bit more legato, right? And especially since you're jumping up an octave, I think the decrescendo is quite necessary. Again, I don't know if you're doing it already, but like it doesn't sound that way through the recording.
Right. No, I think I did not do that. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So. Oh, it's a minor third. I wouldn't say that it feels dragging, right? But it feels like you're sitting a little bit, like a little bit too much, right?
Okay.
With the tempo.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily to say that the tempo is wrong, right? This is like a very, very nebulous thing to talk about because like you can play, like several people can play the exact same metronome marking But one person will play like they're dragging, one person will play like they're rushing, and the other will play like they're exactly on beat, right? And so what I want to think about here is less so the actual tempo or tempo marking itself, but like how are you moving, right? And the reason why, to me, I think it feels like is like sitting a bit much is because the left hand is a little bit too clunky, right? I've talked about this concept before on stream, and I will definitely make a video on it at some point. But it's thinking about beats, not in terms of like discrete points, right? But in terms of like how do I say it? Like a range, right? For lack of a better term. So instead of my beat being like this point here in space, is actually like this like circle, right? Or like this like square or whatever you want to call it. And if I play right in the middle of that square, if I hit the note right in the middle of that circle, then I feel like I'm on beat. If I play towards the back end of that circle, then I feel like I'm pulling the tempo, right? Not dragging, but pulling. If I play towards the front of that circle, then I feel like I'm pushing the tempo and moving forward, right? But not rushing. If I move beyond the circle, right, then I am dragging, I am rushing, right? And the size of the circle changes depending on arrangement, depending on tempo, like overall tempo, depending on composer, yada yada, right? All these things. And so for something like this, it feels like you're playing very close to the back edge of the circle, right? When to me, I almost want you to feel like there's a little, especially here, right? The contrast between this section and the section before, right? That this reprises is that there's more movement in the right hand. Before it was just, right? You're landing on the F and you're holding it, right? And the left hand is moving. But now you're, right? Now you have movement. Oh, thanks, Halcyon. I appreciate it. Right now you have more movement in the right hand. Now it feels like instead of sitting right center or like towards the back end of the circle, things want to move towards the front, right? And that's why it feels like it's dragging a little bit, or not dragging, but like sitting a little bit too much. And two ways that we can do this, right? Again, with the phrasing for dynamically, but then also just conceptually feeling like you're moving a little bit forward, right? It is, again, I'm sorry, unfortunately I cannot explain much more practically. And this is something that, you know, you teach and you learn by doing it over and over again, and having someone who's there to explain it to you, who understands this concept, to like tell you if you're doing it right. But like the abstract way of explaining it for me is that I feel like I'm moving forward. I feel like I'm leaning forward into something, right? It's like taking a breath and it's feeling like that bit of tension that just pushes you forward. And then like towards the end of the phrase, when you relax back a little bit, that's when the tempo drops back down to, you know, sticking right on the like center of the beat, right? So, I'm sorry. Right, there's my breath out, right? And that's when I relax back onto the exact middle, right? So
Gotcha.
Does that all kind of make sense? Yeah. So actually breathing helps with learning this a little bit too. So just a slight recommendation. But yeah. I'll continue onwards. Nice. See, I feel like these chords here in the left hand are a little bit better phrased, right? Simply because you connected the notes a little bit more aggressively, because you had to hold the whole chord.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that ending was very nice. But same comments throughout the rest of it, right? It's just like holding the notes, how you're phrasing, what's bringing, how's the left hand moving, right, dynamically. And perhaps a little bit more aggressively varying the dynamics, right? Just like what we said for the first song.
I'm probably definitely going to revisit this video, but the biggest takeaway I have is like that concept of detachment, and having that finger extended on like that key longer before the pedal kicks in.
Right.
It's great to have.
Yeah, it's honestly like it's another thing that I have that I like keep in my like toolkit of textures that I can just pull out. Right, it's like one hand there's like very straightforward connecting, but then there's like also trying to drag, right, and seeing what sort of texture that gives you. Actually, I learned this while playing Beethoven. right? So in order to pedal less in Beethoven, that's something that I'll do a lot, to drag notes together just so that I pedal less and keep the rest of it drier. But it has applications in other things too, like this, right? So anyways, before we head off to Halcyon stream, do you have any other questions, any other thoughts that you have for me?
No, dude, thank you for taking the time to review my video and giving me good feedback. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Time, dude.
Thanks for.
All right, I'll see you on the other stream then.
Yeah, I suppose so. But thanks for hopping on. Thanks for chatting. I feel so privileged that I get all these voice reviews from all these like any pianists who would never talk anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, again, likewise, the privilege is ours. I think you're really good. Not the best, of course. Like, there's so many comments saying that Animus is better than you. Why the hell are you reviewing him?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I saw that. I was like, bro, can I just? I'm not even saying that I'm better than Animus. I'm just saying that he's great.
Exactly. It's pretty funny and ironic at that point. But I think someone with classical experience and just intertwining that with and piano is great to have in our community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. But
all right, I'll head off now. Take care.
Yep, you too. Anyways, chat. All right, I'm gonna quick switch back to my chatting screen just so that I can sign off real quick. Halcyon's on. Dope. I wish there was I know YouTube has like this like rerouting sort of feature, but like you can only reroute to your own premieres or like your own live streams. I'm like, I wish I could reroute to like Halcyon stream right now and just like, you know, do the Twitch raid except on YouTube, but I can't. But anyways, if nobody, I suppose since everyone's leaving for Halcyon stream, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you all. Again, if you want to submit videos for review like this in the future, you can definitely do so on my Discord. The link is active down below. And if you want this sort of thing, you know, if you want to learn like this in a more private, personalized manner, I do private lessons, right? Just reach out to me at my email, WattKeysOfficial@gmail.com. Shameless plug, but like, you know, it is what it is. So consider supporting me on Patreon. All the fun stuff. Look forward to more fun content coming your way this summer. I'm going to be doing my best. Kane, you are late because we're ending the stream because we're all going to Halcyons. But anyways, thank you guys so much. Y'all are PogChamps in my heart. Join my Discord, submit videos, and I will see you soon whenever I release my next video. Peace.